Hello. Genesis chapter 5. We're picking up right back up. We're talking about the seed line and seed promise. And we have some very interesting information, I think, in Genesis chapter 5 because we have the ages of men, and we have a lot of the time frame of the Bible, really, given in Genesis chapter 5. This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that God created man in the likeness of God, made he him. A spiritual creature, I think even body, soul, and spirit. Remember in 1 Thessalonians 4, verse 16, Christ is going to return body, soul, and spirit. I mean, just like he left this earth. You know, when Jesus was crucified on the cross, for 3 days, he, his body was in the tomb, and his spirit went to the Hadean realm, prison. Hell was talked about, Hades. That's the King James says hell, and it really means Hades, paradise. And his soul, we assume, went back to God. But when he arose, remember, he went whole into heaven, and the apostles saw him, body, soul, and spirit. And when he returns, he's going to return just like he left, body, soul, and spirit. And I think that's what the voice of the archangel, the trump of God, and the shout of Trump shouting the voice, and body, soul, and spirit, I think, is the meaning, the indication there. So we're created in the image of God. This is the book of generations of Adam. God created man in the likeness of God. Made he him. Satan in the image of God? I think so. Body, soul, and spirit. Remember Revelation 20 verses 1 through 3, his body's in the pit, and his spirit's in the Hadean realm. Of course, he's going to be judged by the things that he did. Interesting, but certainly he's a different kind of man. He's a supernatural man, and a lot different there. But these are the generations of men on this earth early on. Male and female created he them, verse 2, and blessed them, and called their name Adam in the day when they were created, man. And Adam lived 130 years and beget a son in his own likeness after his own image, and called his name Seth. Now remember, he had a lot of other children before this, Cain and Abel, but we just read about that last time in Genesis chapter 4. Now Seth comes on the scene 130 years later. Now, how many folks were on the earth at this time? Boy, it would be mind-boggling to try to figure this out. Because if Adam and Eve lived 130 years, and they started having children almost immediately, 9 months, and when those children were 20 years old, if they started, or 18 or whatever, if they started having children once a year, the earth could be populated pretty quick. So we're given an indication of that. Now, we are to take God's word literally. 130 years, let me say that's approximate because we don't have the months and the days. So it could be 130 years in 1 day, or it could be 130 years, 11 months, right, in 20 days. We're not given that detail. And so if we're going to, we can date the Bible. We know the earth's about 6,000 years old, and we say about because God gives us the approximate. He doesn't give us specific days and hours. So Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he'd begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. So we know now from just this that Adam died at 930 years old. How old was Eve? Well, we don't know. We're not told. And all the days of Adam lived were 930 years. God's word's going to be accurate in math. And if we make mistakes and God tells us something else, we better look again, because God is going to be right. And by the way, sometimes translators will mess up, and we'll have some difficulties in those regards. Verse 6, and Seth lived 105 years and beget Enos. And Seth lived after he beget Enos 807 years and beget sons and daughters. And all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. So we kind of start seeing a pattern here. The earth was a lot different. Remember, there was no rain, and mist came up out of the Garden of Eden. And, this was before the flood. And, if you live in a perfect environment, if there's in other words, if there's water above the earth, it protect you from ultraviolet lights and cancer and skin deterioration and other things. And so this is probably an explanation of this. So these men lived long lives, and also for the purpose of populating the earth, I suppose. 912 years old and died. Verse 9. And Enos lived 90 years and begat Cainan. And Enos lived after he begat Cainan 815 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Enos were 905 years, and he died. Now, again, we can start tying these together to form a timeline. I'm not going to take time to do that here. And Cainan lived 70 years and begat Mahalalel. And Cainan lived after he begat Mahalalel 840 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Cainan were 910 years, and he died. And Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared. And Mahalalel lived after begat Jared 830 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of this guy were 895 years, and he died. By the way, hopefully God doesn't expect us to get pronunciations all correctly, does he? Verse 18, and Jared lived 162 years, and he begat Enoch. And Jared lived after he begat Enoch 800 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Jared were 962 years, and he died. And Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. Now that's a key name now for us to remember, of course. And Enoch walked with God after begetting Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. Remember, of course, he didn't die in the same way that other men died. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. And Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. And Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And Lamech lived 182 years. Now, again, Methuselah, it's my understanding this word means, when he comes, when he dies, it comes. That's the flood. Or, it could also mean the opposite, or, the flood comes when he dies. Interesting, the meaning of words and how God ties these things together. And Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son. And he called his name Noah, saying, This name shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because the ground which the Lord hath cursed. And Lamech lived after begat Noah 595 years and begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Lamech were 777 years, and he died. And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So this covers a lot of territory and gets us to the time of the flood. The world is being populated. We know men are living long ages. Probably women are living even older. And there were lots of children. If Adam lived 930 years, and how long was he alive while he was still begetting children? The earth was probably populated pretty fast. So now we're going to get to the next chapter, and we're going to find an earth full of people and full of a lot of sin. So that's Genesis chapter 5. Taking the world from Seth to Noah, basically, and giving us some genealogy of how old men were in the first part of the world, and preserving the seed line. Thank you.